Usually when we talk about suffering for beauty, we're talking about the financial cost.
Right, like a pricey laser treatment.
Exactly. Or, a bathroom shelf completely full of expensive serums. But today we are talking about a very different kind of suffering.
Oh, absolutely.
We are heading straight to the kitchen pantry to talk about rubbing raw, pungent, tear-inducing onion juice directly onto your scalp.
It really brings a whole new meaning to the phrase organic skincare, doesn't it?
It really does.
But, you're right to highlight the absurdity of it. It feels like a prank someone just made up on a forum somewhere.
100%.
Yet if you look at the search volume, this isn't just a fringe internet trend anymore. People are desperate to know, is this actually a lost ancient remedy? Or are we just making ourselves cry and smell like a burger joint for absolutely no reason?
That is the big question.
Yeah.
Because the onion, Allium salpa, is arguably the king of the stir fry. But as a hair growth serum, it sounds like an old wives' tale gone completely wrong. But we have a stack of research here today that suggests there is actual method to the madness.
There really is. And our mission for this deep dive is to separate the folklore from the actual physiology. We aren't just looking at random blogs today.
Right. We've got the real data.
We've combed through a pivotal clinical study from the Journal of Dermatology, some really extensive reviews from the World Journal of Advanced Research and Reviews, and this is key, some very practical, no-nonsense dermatological guidelines from Treya Health and the Belgravia Center.
And I want to flag something right at the top, just because I think this is where most people get led astray.
Yeah, good idea.
The answer to, does onion juice work for hair loss? It isn't a simple yes or no. It seems to depend entirely on why you are losing your hair in the first place.
Yeah, that is the single most important takeaway today. If you tune out everything else, hear this. If you are expecting a miracle cure for every single type of baldness, you are going to be disappointed. But for a specific group of people suffering from a very specific condition, the results we found in the data are frankly startling.
Startling is a big word in science.
It is.
So let's unpack this. Before we look at the clinical trials, we have to address the biology of it all. What on earth is inside an onion that could possibly make hair grow? Is it just the acidity waking up the roots or something?
It's actually much more fundamental than acidity. It really comes down to the periodic table, specifically sulfur.
Sulfur, the stuff that smells like rotten eggs and volcanoes.
The very same.
Mm-hmm.
But in the context of biology, sulfur is often called the beauty mineral.
Really?
Yeah. To understand why, you have to look at what hair actually is. Our hair is made almost entirely of a protein called keratin. You've probably heard of keratin treatments at salons.
Sure. Yeah, it smooths the hair out.
Right. But biologically, keratin proteins are incredibly tough, and they are held together by something called disulfide bonds. Think of these like the horizontal rungs on a ladder, holding the two sides together. A disulfide bond is literally two sulfur atoms bonding together.
Oh, I see. So the sulfur is essentially the glue holding the entire hair structure together.
Exactly. These bonds are what give hair its strength, its elasticity, and its shape. If you lack sulfur, those bonds are weak. The ladder just falls apart.
Makes sense.
Your hair becomes brittle, it snaps, and it stops growing effectively. The theory behind the onion juice trend is that onions are incredibly rich in organosulfur compounds and amino acids.
So by applying them topically,
You are providing the raw building blocks the hair needs to repair those bonds.
like reinforcing the concrete foundation of a building.
Exactly.
That makes sense for strength, but, strength doesn't necessarily mean growth, does it? I mean, I can strengthen a dead branch, but it's not going to suddenly sprout leaves.
That's a great distinction, and that's where the second mechanism comes in. The World Journal of Advanced Research and Reviews points out another major player hidden in the onion, which is quercetin.
Quercetin. That sounds like something you'd buy in the vitamin aisle.
You absolutely can. It's a flavonoid, which is really just a fancy way of saying a plant pigment that acts as a powerful antioxidant.
Okay.
We know that free radicals and oxidative stress contribute to aging, but that's why we're always told to eat blueberries. Well, that oxidative stress happens to your hair follicles too.
Oh, wow.
It can cause the follicle to age prematurely and literally stop producing hair. Quercetin helps fight that oxidative stress.
Okay, so we have sulfur for structure, quercetin for protection, but there's a third mechanism mentioned in the Treya Health reports that I found honestly counterintuitive.
The irritation.
Yeah, it's the idea of irritation as a good thing.
Right, the rubefacient effect. This is old school pharmacology. Onion juice is a mild irritant. When you apply it, it stings.
And we want that.
Well, that stinging is actually the capillaries under your skin dilating.
It's forcing blood flow to the area.
Precisely. It stimulates microcirculation. By widening those blood vessels, you are bringing a fresh rush of oxygen and nutrients directly to the hair bulb. It's like clearing a traffic jam on the highway so the supply trucks can finally get through.
Plus, onions are antimicrobial, right? Which explains why some people use it for dandruff.
Correct.
Yeah.
A lot of dandruff and conditions like seborrheic dermatitis are caused by scalp pathogens. Specifically, a fungus called Malassezia, or bacteria like Staphylococcus aureus.
Nasty stuff.
Yeah. The thiosulfonates in onions act as a natural antiseptic. They kill the bugs, which reduces the overall inflammation, creating a much healthier environment for the follicle to exist in.
Okay, so on paper, this looks like a slam dunk. We have building blocks, antioxidants, blood flow, and germ fighting.
Right.
But biological plausibility doesn't always equal clinical reality. We need to talk about the smoking gun here, the Sharkey study.
Yes. This is the study that launched 1,000 blog posts. It was published in the Journal of Dermatology back in 2002 by Khalifa E. Sharkey and Halakeh El-Abeidi.
It's cited everywhere.
In almost every paper on this topic, yeah, because the results were just so dramatic.
Walk us through this setup, because usually natural remedy studies are pretty flimsy. Was this rigorous?
It was decent. They did a single-blind, placebo-controlled study. They took a group of patients and split them up. One group applied crude onion juice to their scalp twice a day. The control group applied tap water.
Tap water. Talk about a low bar. But wait, twice a day? That is a massive commitment to smelling like a salad.
It's a huge commitment.
Yeah.
But here's a detail that usually gets completely left out of the TikTok videos.
Yeah.
These patients had alopecia areata.
Okay, we definitely need to pause and double click on that because alopecia areata is not the same thing as, say, my dad went bald in his 40s, right?
Not at all. And this is crucial. Alopecia areata is an autoimmune condition. The body's immune system gets confused and starts attacking its own hair follicles.
Wow.
It causes these very distinct, patchy, round, bald spots. It could happen to children, women, men, literally anyone. But importantly, it is non-scarring. The follicle is still there, it's just dormant and under attack.
So keeping in mind that this is a very specific autoimmune condition, what actually happened to the onion group?
The results were frankly shocking. Regrowth started after just 2 weeks.
2 weeks! That's barely enough time to grow stubble.
For a natural remedy, that is lightning fast. By 4 weeks, nearly 74% of the onion group saw regrowth.
That's incredible.
But by 6 weeks, 86.9% of the patients using onion juice had hair regrowth.
Nearly 87%.
Compare that to the tap water group, where only 13% saw any change at all.
That is a massive delta. You just do not see that kind of spread in many clinical trials.
You really don't. And interestingly, the study noted a gender split. Males responded significantly better. They had about a 93.7% success rate compared to females at around 71%.
That is fascinating. So if you're a guy with patchy autoimmune hair loss, this study suggests you've got a 9 in 10 shot of seeing real results.
Basically, yes.
But here comes the cold water. We have to go back to that condition. Alopecia areata.
This is the aha moment for our listeners. If you are looking in the mirror and seeing a receding hairline at your temples, or a thinning crown, what we call male or female pattern baldness, this study does not apply to you.
This is the exact distinction that gets lost on social media. People see onion juice grows hair and think it cures literally everything.
Exactly. Pattern baldness, or androgenetic alopecia, is driven by hormones, specifically a hormone called DHT, or dihydrotestosterone.
Right.
DHT binds to the hair follicle and slowly shrinks it over years until it just disappears. The dermatologists at Treya Health are very clear on this. Onion juice does not block DHT.
So no matter how much sulfur you pour on a genetic bald spot, it's not going to stop the hormonal process that's shrinking those follicles.
Precisely. It can improve the health of the scalp. It can clear up your dandruff. It might even make the existing hair strands a bit stronger so they break less. But it cannot reverse the genetic instruction to go bald.
That is a tough pill to swallow, but an important one. There's another angle to this that I found in the World Journal of Advanced Research and Reviews, which brought in the Ayurvedic perspective.
Oh, yes.
I love when we can cross-reference modern science with traditional systems, because usually they're describing the exact same thing just in different languages.
You really are.
Yeah.
Ayurveda classifies onion as having ushna, or heating properties.
Yeah.
This aligns perfectly with the rubefacient or irritating effect we talked about earlier.
So if it's heating, that implies it's good for cold conditions.
Right. They suggest it is beneficial for kapha types. Those are people who might have sluggish circulation, oily scalps, or blocked follicles. The heat and pungency help break that stagnation and get things moving again.
But what if you're the opposite? What if you're a pitta type?
If you are pitta, you are prone to heat. You get red easily, you have acidity, your skin is naturally sensitive. Putting a heating substance like raw onion juice on a scalp that is already hot and inflamed is like throwing gasoline on a fire.
Which leads us perfectly into the dark side of this trend. Because natural does not mean gentle. Poison ivy is natural.
Exactly. We are talking about raw, highly concentrated sulfur compounds. The Treya sources warn quite strongly about contact dermatitis.
This is the ouch factor. We're talking redness, itching, burning blisters.
And it can get much worse than just a rash. The Treya guidelines specifically mentions that if you have chronic irritation, you can actually trigger something called telogen effluvium.
Telogen effluvium. Unpack that for us.
It's stress shedding. Basically, you irritate your scalp so severely that you shock the hair follicles. They panic and enter the resting phase prematurely. A few months later, all that hair just falls out.
That is a nightmare scenario. You're trying to grow hair and you end up shedding more because you burned your scalp with onions.
It happens way more often than you'd think. That's why the idea that it's just a vegetable, it can't hurt, is actually quite dangerous.
And we haven't even talked about the social side effect, the smell.
Oh, it is potent. And it lingers. Sulfur compounds are volatile, meaning they evaporate into the air easily, but they also bind very strongly to proteins.
And since your hair is protein,
it sticks. It sticks for days.
I saw some tips in the source material about managing this because regular shampoo might not cut it.
No, regular shampoo won't do it. They suggest fighting fire with fire, or rather, fighting smell with better smells. Essential oils like peppermint, lavender, or rosemary are really good choices to mix in because they're also beneficial for the hair.
Right.
But they also recommend a post-wash rinse with lemon juice or apple cider vinegar.
So let's look at the recipe here. You've got onion juice, maybe some rosemary oil, and you're rinsing with apple cider vinegar. You're basically making a vinaigrette on your head.
Essentially, yes. You are a walking salad. But if it works, many people are more than willing to smell like a dressing for a few hours.
Okay, let's say a listener is the ideal candidate. They've got maybe some patchy loss or just generally thinning hair due to breakage, and they want to try this. They're not allergic, they're not a pitta type. How do we actually do this without it being a total disaster?
The process is simple, but the details matter. According to the guides we reviewed, freshness is non-negotiable. You cannot make a big batch on Sunday and keep it in the fridge for a week.
Because of the oxidation.
Exactly. Those active sulfur compounds degrade incredibly quickly. You want the maximum potency. So you blend fresh onions. Red onions are often cited as having higher sulfur content, by the way.
Good tip.
And then, this is crucial, you must strain it.
You want the juice, not the pulp.
Right. Getting onion pulp stuck in your hair is an absolute nightmare to wash out. Use a muslin cloth. Squeeze it tight. Now, before you put it anywhere near your whole head, you absolutely must do a patch test.
Mandatory.
The Treya guidelines are so strict on this. Apply a little behind your ear and wait 24 hours.
If it burns or gets red there, do not put it on your scalp.
Correct. If you pass the test, apply it to the scalp. Now, the Sharkey study had patients doing it twice daily, which is intense. But for general home use, the dermatologists recommend leaving it on for 15 to 30 minutes.
And I saw a specific warning in bold letters in the research. Do not leave it on overnight.
Never. That significantly increases the risk of chemical burns. 30 minutes is more than enough for the scalp to absorb what it needs.
Now, for those who might find pure onion juice a bit too intense or just too smelly, the sources gave us some cocktail recipes to balance it out. This is where we can sort of customize it.
Right. If you have a dry scalp, pure onion juice might be too stripping. So you mix it with coconut oil. Coconut oil is unique because its molecular structure allows it to actually penetrate the hair shaft, not just sit on top.
Okay.
It prevents protein loss while the onion does its work.
And for the itchy scalp?
Aloe vera. It's soothing and cooling. It acts as a natural buffer against the heat of the onion, which reduces the chance of that contact dermatitis we talked about.
And I saw castor oil on the list too. That's a heavy hitter.
Castor oil is a huge favorite for thickening. It's very viscous, really rich in ricinoleic acid. It adds a lot of shine and coating to the hair shaft. Mixing onion juice with castor oil is a really common recommendation for thinning hair because it makes the hair feel instantly thicker.
And for dullness, they suggested honey.
Honey is a humectant. That means it draws moisture from the air directly into the hair. So if your hair looks dull and straw-like, the honey and onion mix can add some hydration back in.
So the regimen is 2 to 3 times a week, 15 to 30 minutes, rinse effectively. And this is the hard part, patience.
Yes. The hair growth cycle is agonizingly slow. You aren't going to see results in a week. The sources say you need to be consistent for 8 to 12 weeks before you can really judge if it's working.
That's 3 months of smelling like onions.
It is. But if you look at that 87% success rate for alopecia areata, for those people, it's absolutely worth it.
So let's bring this deep dive in for a landing. We established that onion juice is more than just a myth. It has legitimate science-backed mechanisms: sulfur for bonds, quercetin for antioxidants, and irritation for blood flow.
But it is not a magic wand. It shines for patchy, autoimmune hair loss and general scalp hygiene. It falls short for hormonal genetic baldness, and it comes with a very real risk of irritation.
And we should definitely mention the holistic view from the Belgravia Center source. They reminded us that you can't just treat the outside.
Right. You cannot out-onion a bad diet. If you aren't eating enough protein and minerals, rubbing onions on your head won't save you. You need to be eating sulfur-rich foods, too. Eggs, fish, broccoli, and yes, eating the onions helps, too. Hair grows from the inside out.
So if you're struggling with patchy loss or just want to boost your overall scalp health and you have a very high tolerance for strong smells, it might be worth a trip to the produce aisle.
Just remember to patch test. I cannot stress that enough.
Always patch test. Now, before we go, there's a concept we touched on earlier that I want to leave our listeners with. We mentioned that for alopecia areata, the irritation might actually be part of the cure. The experts called it antigenic competition.
This is a fascinating bit of immunology.
Yeah.
The idea is that by introducing a new enemy, the mild irritation from the onion juice, you're creating a new focal point for the immune system.
You're distracting it.
Exactly. The immune system is busy attacking your hair follicles. You apply the onion, create a mild dermatitis, and suddenly the immune system says, wait, we need to deal with this skin irritation instead.
Wow.
It shifts its focus, giving the hair follicle a break and allowing it to recover and grow.
Which forces us to ask a much bigger question about how we treat our bodies. We rely so much on sanitized, painless, high-tech treatments, but here is a humble vegetable that outperforms a placebo by nearly 70%, partly because it irritates us, because it causes a reaction.
It makes you wonder what other uncomfortable, pungent, or irritating remedies we've discarded simply because they aren't pleasant, even though they might be biologically brilliant. Sometimes the body just needs a little bit of a fight to heal itself.
Something to mull over next time you're chopping onions for dinner and tearing up. Thanks for diving in with us.